Hi, I'm Sam Beukes, and yeah, I'm here to tell you a little bit about my story, which goes way, way back now, but started out as a young boy in a little town at the end of the railway line in Simonstown. And as a result of that, obviously, um, I was one of those who were moved as a result of forced removals from Simonstown. But I've often wondered about that because I've often wondered if I hadn't moved from Simonstown and just stayed in that that little town, whether I would have been exposed to the kind of things I've been exposed to, and more importantly, whether I would have met Christ as my personal Savior. That's always been a thought in the back of my mind because it was the result of moving out of Simonstown, moving into Heathfield, meeting new people, meeting new friends. And it was through that I eventually ended up, going to a church function and being introduced to Christ. And I need to say my first introduction to Christ wasn't a very pleasant one. I came away kind of feeling like, I'd really been bombarded and forced into almost making a commitment. And this has been one of the reasons, I suppose, for me why I've always been a bit reluctant to pressurize people, almost as it were, to making a response to Christ. It needs to be something that comes naturally. You need to have come to discover God's love for you, and so I suppose that's kind of been, why I've been the way I have been in my own personal style of witnessing and living the gospel. My second encounter, however, was far more real. It was at a youth camp up in Hout Bay, and after a message, I responded to the gospel, and I've never looked back ever since. It's not been an easy journey, and I think that's something that a lot of people need to understand. My journey started way back. I was about a 16, 17-year-old, and I'll just let you into a little secret. I'm about to retire, so that tells you just how many years this journey has been. But it's been a long journey, and during this time, what has been interesting has been to see the number of people who started the journey, but in a sense never finished. They dropped out along the way, and I think that for me is sad, and I think it's also a reflection on how, especially the church today, how the church is presenting the gospel to people. And I'm not saying that it was presented to me in any special, significant kind of way, but there's just so many people that tend to drop out on the way, and as they say, lose their faith. So after a long journey, here I am coming to the end of a chapter, and find myself at Emmanuel Anglican Church in Wynberg. The glorified title of priest in charge and associate director of St. John's Parish, Wynberg. All that means is that I'm one of a team in the parish of St. John's, Wynberg, with the oversight of Emmanuel. And it's been absolutely amazing. It's been about 9 years now. Met some wonderful people, did some incredible things with these wonderful people, made lots of friends, and I'm sure quite a number of enemies as well. But they were just too nice to point that out to me, that we're enemies. So yeah, it's been a wonderful journey, and I'm grateful to God for this journey that I've been able to undertake. I've been grateful for the opportunities that I've received, and like I said, it's not been easy, because the journey, I often used to say to people that my road to ordination, I kind of took the scenic route, the garden route. I didn't go the direct route, and I must say the church did not make it easy for me. There were so many obstacles, so many problems, just so many things that they threw at me, almost in a sense to try and discourage me from pursuing my objective of being ordained, I suppose. But I persevered, and I'm not sorry I persevered, because this has been absolutely amazing. To look back, I had a really interesting story just a couple of weeks ago. My first involvement was with teenagers and then with children, and did a play that some of you might have seen or heard, called Salty, the Singing Songbook. And I was involved with this, and a couple of weeks ago, somebody who's now grown up, but was a child back then, sent me on a video of the play that we had done. And it just made me realize again that you never know how you are impacting. You never know, what you are saying, what you are doing, what you are feeding into people's lives when you're serving God. God calls you to serve. You go and you do, and you what needs to be done. And only in hindsight do you come to realize that God is at work, and you just need to avail yourself. You just need to offer yourself and be a tool almost in God's hand, and allow Him to use you. It wasn't difficult. I mean, it was difficult. It wasn't easy because a lot of folk find this very difficult to understand when I say that I'm an introvert. I'm very much of an introvert. I don't find it easy to just go up to people and say, hi, you, how's it, and start having a conversation. And they find that rather strange, that I should be involved in church leadership. I should be involved in a church, but be an introvert. But even that, I have a strong sense that God used that trait of mine, being an introvert, because I connected with people on a different level. I was far more, listen and things like that, far more attentively. So, what a wonderful journey this has been, and as I say, a chapter now coming to its conclusion, and who knows, what does God have for me in the future? What does God have for each one of us going forward? Because He has a plan for our lives. He has a plan for our lives, and I've seen my plan, the plan for my life unfold from a young boy being moved out of his home at the age of 13. And this is where I have come to today. So God still has my future in His hands. God has your future in His hands as well. So thank you for listening. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit of my story. If I could look back and give my younger self some advice, possibly to have worked on this rather introverted nature that I have. It's not that I regret it in any way, but I would like to have been a little bit more like some of the friends and people that I know who can just kind of be out there. I mean, for example, I don't dance, and so I'm very envious when I go out and I see people able to get down, and they just enjoy themselves. And I look at this and I'm more with my back to the wall, standing, one side. So just have been a little bit more, as the young people like to say, chilled and enjoy myself. But like I say again, no regret. What message to give to the body? I think in a word, persevere. Persevere, especially as we look at the current situation today. I'm seeing more and more people, as they say, throwing in the towel. I'm seeing more and more people kind of becoming despondent, fearful. God is with us, and God is going to bring us through this, not just this crisis, but we've seen Him bring us through previous crises, and there are going to be future crises as well. And we need to trust, to persevere with God. It might sound like sort of very cliche, but He is with us, and He'll never leave us. He'll never forsake us. So, as weak as our grips might be on His hand is taking a very, very firm grip on ours, and we've just got to trust Him. So, in a word, persevere. God is there with us. Yeah, so I'm Sam Beukes, or let me give you my full title, Samuel. The one who heard God speaking, but needed 3 times. Samuel Beukes, and this has been my story.